When a parent is called to school, it's normally that your child is not feeling well, skipping class, or even poor performance. But that was not the case for Immaculate Ninsiima, a mother to 14-year-old Bonus Atukwatse, who after reporting a student bully was burned to ashes in a school dormitory. Bullying in schools has for a long time been prevalent, especially in secondary schools. It is an intentional and aggressive behavior occurring repeatedly against a victim, where there is a real or perceived power imbalance, and where victims feel vulnerable and powerless to defend themselves. In fact, during our time, in the 90s, it was something the Senior 1 newbies would prepare for, with some learning ridiculous, embarrassing songs and comedy skits to entertain the seniors and others coming to school, with lots of money to buy themselves a bodyguard, who was always a senior student, for protection. In most schools, it is a way of welcoming the students into adulthood, from pupil to student status. This pattern of behavior includes physical bullying, such as hitting, kicking, and the destruction of property, and psychological bullying, such as teasing, insulting, and threatening. While some of these acts are meant to be harmless, like teasing, some students go beyond the normal, implicating psychological and even physical torture that can last a lifetime, and sometimes even death. Welcome back to Tavern Crime Chronicles. We explore strange, mysterious, chilling, and unsolved cases. If you have the nerve for fascinating stories, this is your channel. We approach our cases with empathy and extensive research, and if you appreciate our true crime storytelling, kindly support us by subscribing. Thank you. Today's story takes us to Ntungamo district in the western part of Uganda, formerly part of Ankole Kingdom, a traditional monarchy that dates back to the 18th century. Ntungamo district is the birthplace of the current president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and his wife, Janet Museveni Kataha. With an area of about 800 square miles, Ntungamo boasts of the largest farms with longhorned cattle, supplying milk and beef to its neighbors. With tourism in Uganda a booming activity all year long, one cannot go past the hot springs and bird watching in Ntungamo while on their way to see the mountain gorillas in Bwindi impenetrable forest. And in this beautiful place is Chamatea Secondary School, a government institution that would on one fateful night become a crime scene. When after the fire that gutted the boys' dormitories was successfully brought down, a burned body was discovered to have been tied to the bedpost. This is the horrific story of Bonus Ankwatereire. Born in Isingero district to father and mother Immaculate Ninsiima, Bonus grew up just like any other young boy in an African village. Going to school and helping his mother at home with chores were a daily schedule. In most homes, the boys are responsible for fetching water from the well and firewood from the forest, and Bonus did exactly that. As a disciplined young boy, his parents had high hopes in him and enrolled him in Chamate's secondary school after he excelled in his primary leaving examinations. All students are always excited when they finally go to secondary school, for they can see the future not so far ahead, and Bonus wasn't any different. He had made a promise to his mother to make her proud, and he immediately set forth to focusing on his books. Unfortunately, the old boys of the school would have none of it and often disturbed his peace, teasing and bullying him as it was often the habit by the seniors, a disgusting one that must stop if you ask me. Well, Bonus asked them to stop on several occasions, that they instead intensified the bullying. Thus, Bonus reported their behavior to the school authorities. The boys were punished with an indefinite suspension. Among them was Wilber, the group ringleader who threatened to revenge Bonus for causing his suspension. Unfortunately, the administrators disregarded his threats as empty, and no measures were put in place to protect the school. One Sunday night, Wilber, together with his suspended friends, returned to school unnoticed by making their way through the fence surrounding the school. With him was a jerrycan of petroleum fuel that he hid in the thicket behind the dormitory. Stealthily, They searched for Bonus among the other students and quickly located him humbly seated on his bed as he usually did before bedtime. He reminded him how they had come to punish him for reporting to the teachers as they quickly tied him on the bed. Scared of what may befall him, Bonus screamed for help, but none of the boys came to his aid as they were all young, about his age, and couldn't dare fight them off. Wilber and his friends quickly ran out, and as the boys struggled to untie their friend thinking their tormentor had left, he came back with a jerrycan, poured the contents in and around the dormitory, and set it ablaze. Everyone was in total confusion. All the boys were screaming while running outside, and unfortunately, Bonus's screams for help were swallowed by the blazing furnace. The few boys trying to help could not see beyond their noses, and it was getting hotter every microsecond. They ran out too quickly, sustaining burns on their bodies as they scampered for safety, and as fire ravaged the two dormitories of Mandela and Nyerere. The perpetrators were nowhere to be seen as they had fled from the school. Bonus was left behind, in the blazing flames, and only he knew what thoughts crowded his mind as he breathed his last. Was it about his mother, who did everything in her power to see that he goes to school? Was it anger, hatred, or even forgiveness for Wilber, despising the act he had just committed? Only God knows, for on that bed, tied to the bedpost, Bonus unfortunately lost his life. Police authorities arrived at the scene a little too late, for nothing could be saved. The 3 students that sustained injuries were quickly admitted at the family clinic in Tungamo town. Investigations to the cause of the fire were underway immediately, and as the police officers surveyed the scene in the wee hours of the morning, they were shocked to see a corpse of a young boy, burned beyond recognition. On further scrutiny, they noticed that the boy had been tied to the bed with a metallic cord that he couldn't have freed himself. Not even the fire could burn the ties off. A heinous murderer this was. Immediately, the case was no longer arson but a homicide. Their beautiful, quiet school was now a murder scene. Roll call was quickly made to find any missing students, and when the Senior 1 students realized that their friend Bonus hadn't made it through the flames, they quickly collaborated on the story. Social media was awash with protests demanding that the government takes tough measures to crack down bullying in schools, which is one of the most pervasive forms of school violence. The 7 boys were tracked down and arrested, of which one was a minor, thus could not be named in public. The identified suspects were Herbert Joshua Asimwe, Odomol Odongo Kenisige, Lawrence Twezigye, Arnold Tumwesigye, and Anthony Aranetwe, all aged 18 years of age. Appearing before the Ntungamo Grade 1 magistrate, Ms. Mariam Namubiru, they were charged with murder, arson, and 175 other counts of malicious damage to property. They were remanded to prison after being advised not to take plea, because their offenses were capital in nature. The 16-year-old is remanded at Kabale Remand Home, while the rest are remanded in Tungamo Government Prison awaiting their sentence. And this pretty much sums up our case for today. Tell me, what do you think about this chilling case, by the way? For me, as a parent, it sends cold shivers down my spine knowing that sending my child to school isn't guaranteed safety, for anything can happen. And what are your thoughts about bullying in school? I think it's completely despicable and should be given maximum punishment, for however minor the teasing, the effect is eternal. Well, if you like the way we presented this case, or are even interested in real crime documentaries, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and even share the thrills with your friends who may like the same. See you next time.